welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. Every week, we devote our show to highlighting the incredible people in the agriculture industry. At the end of each episode, I ask my guest why they do what they do, what lights them up, and what purpose do they serve on this earth. For Christmas, I thought it would be great to take a look back over the remarkable answers I got to this question over the last 12 months. The people of agriculture never cease to inspire me, and I am so grateful that I get to help them share their stories. Don't forget to take a moment to appreciate why we celebrate this time of year. We are all servants in our own way, doing our own part, and someday I hope we all get a chance to hear the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Enjoy. So tell me what really lights you up. Tell me about how you developed the desire to really serve the industry. You as Tracy, not as the business.
Ooh, okay. I don't share this often. I share my business reasons. We wanted to reach farmers in a trendy format, video podcast. But aside from the second layer reason of my interest in farm business and seeing a need to bring that to farmers, there was a lot of different situations. Again, I'm passionate. I look around, I study, and I look around and I've seen farmers we'll speak to the financial end first, and then I'll talk to the succession planning end. You see farmers around that are out and about, and you go, wait a minute, I know your size of operation, and I see what you buy, and that doesn't jive. And then sure enough, you just see big mistakes being made because the focus isn't there on the business end. I'd imagine they are running blind without financials. And if you don't have financials and looking at hardcore numbers, it's pretty easy to lose track of your expenses and revenue, right? And then you make mistakes and you jeopardize the farm. So that's something that really made me mad, because I started learning, and heck, you look at that and you go, well, there's not a lot of room for error often, right? We have a profit if we do everything right and it all goes great. Start making mistakes or running blind without your financials. That can be bad, right? And then do that a few times and you start to jeopardize the future of your farm. And if we want farms that can pass on to the next generation, we need to make sure that we run it the best that we can now. So that's my burning financial passion end of it. And then probably the main reason I started this show is succession planning in my own personal family. And I keep it brief because it's not my story so much to tell, but I have lost aunts, uncles, and cousins in a very tight, strong-knit family because of lack of financial planning.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had both sides actually torn apart by the lack of financial planning. And I say, okay, fine. That would be my grandfather's generation. And you know what? We all want to be mad and get annoyed, but sometimes that generation could be a little bit different. And they were those reasons, they were that way for a reason, right? They went through some tough stuff, building, homesteading. Heck, they needed a different mind frame and set of tools than we do now. And they did the best they can. I firmly believe that. Everybody does the best they can with what they know and what they have. Mm-hmm. So that's fine. We give them grace. But listen, my generation and the ones that can know better and should know better, we have everything on our iPhone. Anything we want to learn. Yes. Heck, you can learn how to do open heart surgery on your phone, I'm sure. I didn't look it up, but I'm sure it's there. Yeah. If we want to make sure that we don't repeat the mistakes of our great-grandfathers and grandmothers and generations down from there, we can do better. So that's why I started this show. They may not have had the tools that we do. Heck, they didn't have all these events and conferences and an iPhone. They had a newspaper once a week. And how much focus was on transition planning back then? They couldn't do better. But us, we got to do better, and we need to stop repeating the mistakes that have been done in the past. We need to, like Elaine says, have those hard conversations and really dig in, because nothing worthwhile is easy, and it doesn't get done if we don't dig in. Yeah. That is why. That is what lights me up.
Yeah, and that's where your passion comes from. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never considered being a woman. I'm fully man. I'm very comfortable with that. If that's your question,
What a relief.
no.
Yeah,
No.
what a relief.
I'm not interested in estrogen injections.
All right, good. Well, we got that out of the way. So
Was that your question?
I guess I have to come up with another one then. So what fires you up? What did God put you on this earth to accomplish?
Just inspire people to think about things in a way they've never thought about them before. Don't be a bunch of sheeple just following a leader.
Yeah.
Even with what I'm saying here today, I hope that you take it to heart, but then go think about it, research it, and come up with your own decision. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just challenging you to think about things in a way you've never thought about them before. And at the end of the day, if we all do that, the world will be a better place.
Wow. That's a great answer. I agree. What did God put you on this earth to accomplish? You personally.
Wow, that's a good one. I feel like there's so many things. First of all, it's being an advocate for him, telling his story. I think that's the most important, to be able to share the gospel with people and trying to live that out. I think that's the most important, and sometimes in all transparency, that gets lost in the day to day. So, there's always a need to kind of refocus and regroup on that, but also being the best husband and father. I've got 5 children, and want to be an example for those kids, and how to be a good Christian, but also to leave the world better than you found it, and when you have a platform like this, that can't be taken for granted, and I just want them to understand work ethic too. That's another part of it, is to, I show up every day and give it everything I've got here to, try to do the best we can for what we're building here. And, I'm excited to see where it all goes, but, try not to, it's real easy to get in these situations and make work your purpose and say, God put me on earth to communicate this story to farmers and ranchers. Well, it's a job, and I enjoy doing it. I'm passionate about doing it. I probably spend more hours every day thinking about it and doing it than I should. But, at the end of the day, just serving God and living for him and telling folks about him, that's where the priority should be. And, I just hope at the end of the day that, that I can, try to achieve that mission.
And so then I started Lonesome Lands. I actually went to school for the media. I was a journalism minor for a little while, and then I realized I didn't want to do that at all. I had an interest in it, but as far as like a career and having to work your way up and those kind of things, I decided I didn't want to do it. But I went ahead and graduated with a communication degree, and then now that that was I don't know, 15 years ago or so, 16. More. But now that things have kind of made it easier for somebody like me just to start their own thing, I did that with Lonesome Lands. I started a couple of years ago, and the idea was just kind of to give my perspective, more of like an agriculture type perspective on the news and different news, and that's where it started. And then it kind of, as I got to researching more things and seeing some of the crazy things that are going on, it's kind of just went from there.
So then you said in one of our first communications that you're always looking for ways to give back to the industry. What do you want your legacy in agriculture to be?
That's interesting. I thought about that a little bit. So I just turned 50. So when we all turn 50, it's one of those things where we start to look at our lives.
Right.
Before you're 50, when I'm in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I was living life. Now I'm looking at with small children and hitting 50 and thinking about it. I'm thinking of what I would like to give back. And I had cancer 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm fine, but thankfully I'm fine. But after that, it's completely changed my work ethic, and I want to be the best at what I do. And I want to help and give back as much as I can to the dairies that I've worked with through the years and ones that I haven't worked with. So to me, that's what I want my legacy to be. I want people to think that I've kind of helped in whatever way it is. I just want to give back, and then I want to teach my children this work ethic.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm laser focused for doing what I love. So,
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And you know, I'm sure that a cancer scare that would really get you thinking, right?
yeah, I came out of absolutely positively nowhere, and I'm fortunate I had something else happen, and that was minor. And then when they did some MRIs, they said, "Ooh, there's something going on here." And
Wow.
if I wouldn't have known that, I would not be here today.
Wow. Wow. That's lucky.
Crazy.
Lucky and unlucky, I'm sure. At the
Yeah,
same
very,
time.
very fortunate.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of got what makes me go is I think I got a small case of ADHD, and I can't sit still very long. So
Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
I'm always doing something.
Yeah. That's good.
Similar
Keeps
to a lot-
life interesting, right?
Yeah, similar to a lot of the farmers I work with, and
Yeah.
they're always getting their hands into something and starting new businesses. And I don't know. I guess I like what gets me going is I chase the journey, I guess, more than anything. I kind of just like the process of building stuff out and seeing what happens, helping people out. So
So I have one last question for you. On the show, I usually ask my guests what they want their legacy to be. So what is that for you? What did God put you on this earth to accomplish?
Well, probably to be a good farmer. And,
Yeah.
you know, we all have our families and that sort of thing that we want to make sure that we can take care of as well as we possibly can. But I think the big thing here for me, as I mentioned earlier, is just, you know, my dad had a saying, chance to meet a stranger is an opportunity to make another friend. And I've tried to live by that all my life, because helping others is, I mean, I did not start out to be doing this when I started farming, you know, almost 50 years ago. But, you know, it's just, it's not a calling. It's just something that I have come into. And as I said, my community kept expanding. And I just want the legacy to know that, to read somewhere along the line that I was able to help people. And that's why you bring things like this Bill C-208 together. It's just like make life a little more simple for everybody. And you can do that if you're in a position of town councils, municipal councils. You don't have to be a member of parliament to do it. We can, in all of our volunteer organizations, we've got many charitable organizations in Canada to be involved in and around the world as well. So, you know, that's why there's so many similarities between Canada and the United States. In regards to this type of lifestyles. I was involved as a member of the Manitoba legislature with people from Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota,
Wow.
and Manitoba got together years ago, and we were dealing with issues following the 1997 flood of the Red River, on issues of common concern to us. There's lots of differences, but it was a big learning experience to find out that, you know, people on the ground in North Dakota that are farming have the same situations as we do in southern Manitoba or Ontario. And it's once you break things down and get to speak to each other on a daily basis, practically, you can find out that there's a lot of similarities. And I try to use my skills in that, if I can say that there are any, to be able to, you know, take out some of the differences that exist, I guess. And it doesn't have to be between nations. It can be between provinces or neighboring towns. And I think that's a big issue for people to be able to take into consideration as they go through life.
Harriet, I'll start with you. What fires you up? What's your personal mission?
My personal mission, that's a great question, is really to have agriculture known and respected by everyone, just every single day, known the value of and respected, because you know, I think because agriculture sometimes is looked at as, you know, old fashioned, right? Because we've been doing it forever. We've had to, you know, since existence.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit old fashioned and maybe doesn't always get the respect or isn't looked at as, you know, as a science. But it certainly is. I mean, our farmers on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you know, they are scientists. They absolutely are. And just that it's respected. It's just a great science. And if we don't have agriculture, we don't have food and a whole lot more.
That's it. Absolutely. And Tamara, for you, what fires you up?
Well, I often tell students I have the best job in the world. I am passionate about agriculture. I believe, like Harriet said, that it needs to be respected and known. It's a great industry to work in. It's providing food for every, for the world. And understanding soil science is certainly something that is important. And most of our PD events are titled Soil, Life's Main Ingredient. So I do believe promoting soil under our feet and talking about the importance of it in our daily lives is certainly something that if I can tweak one teacher or one student to pursue or have a better understanding of agriculture, then I think I've done my job.
I grew up in the quarter horse world, and my family has quarter horses and cattle, and I'm from a ranching background. I started my career buying ranches. This is like a lot of us in agriculture in Washington, this is where I'm from. When something goes wrong in the cattle business, the first call I usually get is from my parents asking me what I screwed up. You know what I mean? And so these issues hit home. Everyone gets passionate in Washington. That's why everybody, who comes here puts up with all of the grief that it takes to live here so that you can be involved in these conversations. But boy, it hits home. And when you have family that are involved and it's your way of life, it means a little more. So, you really want to make sure that you do the best for them here in Washington. You represent them to the best of your ability. And sometimes, you have to fight in a town that is kind of geared against us. And so some days we're making friends and other days we're putting our helmet on and going to battle. And that's there's no one I'd rather do it for. It's fulfilling work even on days when you're frustrated.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for doing that. Right. We need these voices.
Well, and thank you for getting the message out. I mean, it's so critically important that these kinds of programs are out there so that producers get that full picture of what's happening. So the work you guys do is absolutely invaluable.
Man, that's like a $10,000 question.
Yeah.
When I love to teach. That's what gets me up and gets me here every day into work. It's what keeps me up late working on, evenings and weekends. And when I think about what my legacy will be, I hope it's reverberated in what my students are doing and the impact that they're making for the industry. And I'm doing my best now so that they can do their best in the future. And I hope that positive ripple effect will go across, that we have more skilled agriculturalists in the industry because of the efforts I'm making, but also the efforts my colleagues are making here at the university. So yeah, I guess those are the moments that get me, is like when a student will contact me, a former student, say, you really, made a positive difference. I'm so grateful. And I don't need those, but it helps to know that the efforts I'm making live on. And so I guess that would be the legacy, I hope, is that my small efforts here will ripple through to my students who are going to really change and impact the agriculture industry.
So I have one more question for you. What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to forever impact our industry?
That's a really good question. I'm fortunate in that the research that I do, I think, has obvious positive societal impact, in that we're finding economical, practical solutions to keep farms in business while protecting air and water quality. I have my 84 peer-reviewed publications, but my research is really not how I'm impacting the world. I impact the world through my students and help introducing students to agriculture who aren't familiar with agriculture, helping them figure out what their passion is, helping them figure out what they really want to do with their lives, and then how to get there, helping them understand that, things always get better, that I always tell my students, things work out in the end. And if they haven't worked out yet, it's because you're not at the end yet. So hang in there. And I really, the youth are our future. And the program, the department, the university that I'm at is very student oriented, and I really enjoy identifying students when they're teenagers, getting them to come to Virginia Tech and advising them and mentoring them and teaching them and seeing that growth between 18 and 21 or 22, and hopefully we're helping them become better human beings, and then they'll pass that on in terms of how they interact with young people, with students. So I hope that I'm producing a generation of students that have a positive understanding of the agriculture industry, are learning best practices to keep our industry sustainable, but also who are resilient and successful, and understand that today's failure is not a permanent stain. It's not a permanent
that's a good point.
Black mark. Through my students.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. How do you personally want to impact the ag industry? How do you want to be forever remembered?
Making a difference in the lives of the people that I work with. So my little motto thing, on is make a lot of money, sell a lot of products and all that stuff, but it's making a difference in the lives of the people that I work with. And I think that's the thing that as you get done and you remember back to the great people that you work with and the managers that I had that I really enjoyed, and is they made a difference in my life. They gave me a different perspective. They were part of more than just my boss and did great things, and more than just provided a way for me to make a lot of money or anything like that. Is that, they changed who I was as a person. I think that's the thing that we can do is in our jobs, in our roles as salespeople, and as trainers, whatever we're doing, is how do we make a difference in the lives of the people that we interact with, whether that's 10 or 10,000 or 10 million. It's having that impact and being remembered.
Absolutely. That's really awesome.
That's a really big question, and it's something we actually struggle with a little here at the Alliance, because a lot of the work we do is issues management. It's behind the scenes. So sometimes our goal is that something won't happen or something won't get a lot of attention. So it can be hard to go back and quantify that we had an impact and that we were able to change the direction of something, because we never know what would have happened if we never took action. Right. So, my goal above all is to make sure farmers and ranchers feel supported and like they're not alone out there on these issues. We can hear that a lot. A lot of the things we deal with can be frustrating, can be, really impactful on a farmer and rancher's ability to do business. And it can be isolating to feel like no one is out there having your back and addressing this type of information or misinformation that's out there. So ultimately, that's what I want to do and what I want to contribute with my skills and my background is being able to be in this space, to be keeping an eye on these issues so that farmers and ranchers can really focus on what they want to do, which is provide high quality care for their animals, for their land, and ultimately produce products so that our consumers can be happy buying.
What fires you up? What makes you get out of bed in the morning?
Ooh, a lot of things, but I think the underlying current is knowing that I am involved in agriculture and the dairy industry at such an exciting time, and that I'm in a position that allows me to have an active role in providing change and direction towards the industry, and that I get to help people connect and tell stories and really showcase what we have to offer the global consumer.
Yeah, and that's remarkable. And you've got an awesome platform to do that.
Very fortunate in that regard. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question. We think that this is the must happen kind of transition from the diesel and driver tractor to driverless electric. And the faster we make it, the better we will be ready for the challenges we are facing in agriculture, like to produce more food with less chemicals, less water on a smaller land, with like unexpectable or very unpredictable weather conditions. We need better planning, which means we need more data, and this is the perfect solution for that?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I think there's always an opportunity in business to do and be a part of something you love, a passion. And it's really easy to be passionate about agriculture. It's easy to be passionate about watching one generation to the next generation develop and grow and continue to feed the world. And at the same time, it's a great marketplace where you can develop relationships and impact and influence people in today and for tomorrow.
It's I suppose it's close to me. I mean, my whole, from my childhood of my friends being sons of dairy farmers and my interest in dairy cows and working on dairies kind of, in late elementary school and junior high and just carrying that on through all of my education and then all of my career. I enjoy working with dairy producers. I like working with cows. I am, I suppose, curious by nature and am always interested in, are there things that we can do or manipulate to enhance animal welfare, improve animal management, and enhance animal productivity. So yeah, I have spent a lifetime thinking about cows and the management of cows, and really enjoy the people, the producers, as well as the allied industry that supports this huge industry. So yeah, it's a great group of people.
That's a good question. What fires me up is I have two daughters and I have family that are younger. My daughter, one is 21 and the other one is 25. And they have a future. I want to have them have a future on this earth and have a earth that's livable. And that's, a main, probably main driver. And I was, blessed in having the ability to become a chemical engineer and travel. And I wanted, really use my skill sets to maybe show some connections that might have not been obvious to others, but also constructed in such a way that this is not, some kind of just a dream with no reality. This actually has a lot of returns. This is actually profitable to do this. So I think there's been a misnomer with the transition to complete renewable world and sustainable restorative world, that it's going to cost all kinds of jobs and it's going to cause all kinds of havoc. I think that's a huge misnomer. I think it's going to actually generate activity and it's going to be far more interesting and far more inspiring, right?
Right.
So what does drive me? I grew up in, a little bit of my time in Japan, and there's this expression called ikigai. It's a Japanese expression where you can actually find your calling, your skill set, and what makes a difference, and what's profitable, and kind of a combination of all of that in the middle is ikigai. So with this, for me in renewable practices, and especially now in restorative practices through biochar and decarbonization, I think I'm pretty close to getting my own ikigai, finding my own ikigai, which means to me, and I get complaints all the time that I work too much, but I pretty much work every day of the week. I tried really hard to have Sunday off lately, but every other day it's a lot of work, but I don't really call it work, because it's what I love doing, right? But it's still work.
Definitely the growers make me get out of bed in the morning. Growers face a lot of challenges, and so much of it is out of their control. So for example, at the beginning of a season, they start at the top of the charts, right? And then something with bloom happens and weather's out of their control. So there's a peg down there. And then the ever changing of rules and regulations comes into play. And then they're taking down another peg. And then water shortage happens. So they're taking down another peg. And then your rising labor rates come into play and it goes down another peg, et cetera, et cetera. And we are relieving some of those pain points by delivering a high quality product that doesn't rely on weather. It's accurate, consistent, and provides further data into their orchard. And with TRAC focusing on the health and quality of the orchard, this in turn improves overall yield. And we are very excited very excited and proud to be a contributing factor to those results.
Oh God, I just, well, I guess, you know, if you looked at my Facebook page, 'cause I love life. I just enjoy getting up in the morning, getting going. I love my employees. I like to make sure they're successful. And then, you know, at a personal basis, I just like helping out. You know, my wife and I are foster parents. We also coach a Special Olympics volleyball team, which has been very disappointing. You know, those people have almost been in lockdown for the last year. They haven't been allowed to go do anything, and this was always something they really enjoyed getting out and doing. So we're looking for that to come back to normal so we can get back involved with that.
Yeah. That's it. Giving back has so much reward, right?
Yep. No, I think I've accomplished everything I wanted to do in life. Now I just want to enjoy it and do whatever I can to, like I said, give back.
You know, my passion here is trying to help farmers achieve their goals and objectives. And their goals and objectives, believe it or not, is really about having a lifestyle that protects the environment, that makes their farm better for their next generation, but yet being able to produce food in a way that is affordable to the consumer and profitable to the farmer. So to me, I think it's making sure that all of that can take place. Farmers can be profitable, they can stay on the land, they can bring the next generation into the farm, and consumers, when they go to the grocery store, or if they have a direct relationship with the farmer, can go get the products they need in order to feed their families and be happy with what they have, whether that's beef, pork, chicken, you know, or lettuce and tomatoes and you name it. Whatever we put on our tables, our members want to be able to produce that, and they want to produce it in quantities and at a price that consumers need.
Oh gosh, well, it's pretty easy, and it's my 3 boys.
Yeah.
It's my 3 boys. I love more than anything being a mother. And one of the things that I recognize, which is one of the reasons I own my own business, is I realized quite quickly after getting into the workforce, after getting divorced, is that I needed to own my own business so I could be the mother that I wanted to be.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, for me, if that piece of my life isn't under control, being the mom that I want to be, making sure my ducks have the care that I think is what they should have with that mother-child relationship and all that encompasses it, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I can't focus on anything. And I really felt during that 1.5 years that I wasn't in control of my own business, that it was a constant struggle because I was being pulled. My conscientious nature is to be a really good employee, but yet the pull towards my kids just killed me having to make those calls and those changes. Whereas as your own boss, you can work it the way it needs to be worked. And so my passion in life is my 3 children. And what gets me out of bed really is taking care of their needs first, but then other people. I have great people in my world and in my life, and I love communicating with them and talking through their problems and my problems and just sitting down and having a cup of coffee.
That's awesome. Oh yeah. The coffee is definitely up there.
It is nothing. There's nothing like I almost feel empty right now with this interview because I feel like I should have a cup of coffee and just kind of be drinking it and just soaking it in. Yeah.
Oh, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
So one last kind of big question. What are you most passionate about? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Oh, that's a great question. So I always talk about, in one of my keynotes celebrating agriculture, I always talk about the promise, and the promise of agriculture is your legacy. And I point pretty clearly to my daughter who shows registered Holsteins. And that certainly is a passion, but I think my overall passion is trying to help the people of agriculture do better for ourselves. And it's pretty wearing after 20 years, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
but I really strongly believe that we work in the best business in the world. And I think that I work with the very best people. And it breaks my heart when I see misinformations out there, or when the people of agriculture are hurting themselves. I wish that I had a louder voice. I wish that I could do more to get those messages of agriculture out there. But I've come to the conclusion after 2 decades, it takes every single voice at every single opportunity, whether we really feel like doing it or not. And also takes sometimes stepping up and having the hard conversations within agriculture and giving people a little smackdown once in a while.
That's it. And we all have that responsibility.
Yes.
Well, obviously I'm passionate about cooling cows, right? I'm passionate about the ag industry. So you started this segment by saying heat stress costs the dairy industry millions of dollars every year. That is a very, very true statement. And for years and years and years, farmers have just accepted that, right? Or had to accept that.
Yeah.
They know that heat's coming. They know summer's coming. They know there's going to be drops in production, reproduction. They know there's going to be more metabolic issues. They know they're going to have an increase in fall lameness. And, you know, they only ever used to be able to put fans in or throw in some bunkline soakers. But now they have this really great option. They have coolers, right? They can invest in a cooler system and provide cows with the consistency that they crave, right? We all know cows love consistency. That's why the TMR industry is crazy, right? Because cows want every single bite to be exactly the same. That's how we get the most out of them, by giving them TMR. We buy all kinds of fancy feed inputs. We buy the best TMR mixer. We want every mouthful to be the same whenever we do that shaker box test. We put so much into that. And that's what CÜHLERZ is. CÜHLERZ is providing that same consistency to cows, right? Where every day feels like the same cool day. So then farmers, okay, so the cow is healthier and they're performing better, and we're maximizing their longevity, and we're maximizing their performance and their production, and we're getting them back into calf, and we're spending less money on vet bills, and everything is great because we're able to take advantage of all of the other stuff that we spend our money on. Right? That robot feed pusher. Every time that robot feed pusher pushes up the feed, the cows are there eating because they're cooled at the bunk, or they're cool and they're going to go eat. We want cows to be going to the bunk 11 to 14 times a day. And when they're hot, they don't do that. It is amazing whenever you go and talk to a customer, right? And they say to you, you know, we've had these fans in since 2016, and since then, metabolic issues are pretty much gone, right? The vet never comes here anymore. Mm-hmm. And you see that hoof trimming chute over there, we never have to use that. I used to be blocking cows all the time, and now I hardly ever block cows. Like, it's not just about production and reproduction. It's like a full cycle. That's actually what the farmer said to me. He said, it's unbelievable how it's this full cycle, right? Wow. And everything, heat stress just impacts everything, even things you didn't think about, right? Like his calves, they're born healthier. They're so vigorous. They jump up and they run and they hit the ground running and they start gaining weight and they're outperforming their sisters. Like they're before the dams were cooled, they're outperforming them. And he's like, it's amazing. It's having effects on every generation, moving down. I can see it, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I get to talk to farmers like that, that's when I know that what I'm doing it's making a difference. It's having an impact. And I love that. I love that because I am a farmer. I'm a farm kid. I'm a farmer. Farming is terminal, okay? Once you're a farmer, you're not getting out till you're out in a pine box. Like, it's terminal. I am a farmer, right? And I will never, ever be able to represent something that rips farmers off. I just can't do it. I can't do it because those are my brothers and my sisters and my moms and my dads and my aunts and my uncles. Those are my people, right? And that's what I love about CÜHLERZ. That's what I'm passionate about, right? It's making a difference and helping people, helping cattle, helping everybody get more out of their life, because farming is life.
And I have one last question for you. So why are you devoting your career and life to these issues that affect producers?
You know, I grew up in the cattle industry, and I'm very fortunate to have that background. And I think that oftentimes the biggest barrier to success on the ranch comes from red tape. And oftentimes that red tape is established by people that don't have a firm grounding of why we do what we do. And it makes a lot of sense, right? I don't want to make this a comment on, you know, the fact that we need to educate consumers and educate the public on what we do. I think that is important, but I also don't think that we should, you know, approach it from the perspective of, well, you should understand why it is what I'm doing. You shouldn't be involved in my backyard. You know, oftentimes a lot of our generally accepted management practices on the ranch would seem very, very foreign to someone that doesn't know, have the same background or the knowledge as to why we're doing what we're doing. So I kind of decided that the best place for me to do that was here in Washington, D.C., because that's where a lot of the big decisions get made. And I've been really fortunate to be able to do it for the past 4 years.
And so I have one last question for you. What did God put you on the earth to accomplish? And what are you most passionate about? My favorite question.
Favorite question.
Yeah.
I don't know what God has put me on this earth for, because I've given him a lot of opportunities and reasons to take me off of it. And he hasn't yet. So I can only assume that he's not finished yet. So whatever he has planned, you know, he'll show me in his time, and then I'll be happy to do it. Passion. I love to make people laugh or smile, you know, even the checkout girl at the grocery store or something, you know, I usually have something to make her giggle, you know. It's you know, like everybody else, you know, I've been through some dark times. We all have, and I was fortunate enough that I could use humor as a ladder to climb out of it. And now if I can make somebody laugh, I just sent them on a mini vacation from their problems. And, you know, people seem to appreciate that. And, you know, I make God laugh every day, you know. All I do is tell him what my plans are for the future, and he just laughs and laughs.
Yeah, I hear that one.
Yeah, so I make God laugh every day, telling him what I'm going to do.
That's a really good point.
Well, I certainly would like to be remembered as somebody that had a nice group of animals and a well taken care of group of animals. You know, define success is kind of a difficult thing to define, but I think we can all think of successful producers, and that's a pretty common string amongst them, at least in my opinion. Well taken care of productive animals.
For sure. I think that for me, I think that contributing to the industry in such a way that it improves animal well-being, human well-being, and animal handling, and the whole circle, contributing to that as a whole, I think is really something that I think is a great thing. I think that, you know, those of us that are involved with livestock production have been given a unique role in this life, I think. And I think that it's important for us to be good stewards of the resources that we care for. And I think that it's important that we do our best.
And so I have one last question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning? Why are you doing what you do?
Well, it depends on the day, you know?
Yeah.
So normally I get out of bed and I just start interacting with colleagues from all over the world, because we've as of now, I've published 810 papers. So the information is a little bit old. So we're publishing papers like at the highest rate of any group in the world. And we're not one group. So, you know, I've got colleagues in 54 countries. And so my colleagues are always awake. It's like the old British Empire. The sun never sets on it, you know. Yes. Somebody's always, so it's largely my interactions with people. And I met these people and became colleagues with these people because they also want to save the world and improve both environmental health and human health. So that's what unites us. And then, you know, I like to play squash in the morning, so that helps me get out of bed. I make sure I'm up and about by about 5:15 or so I can get my little bit of work done at home and then get on the squash court by 7 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
So those things get me out of bed, and I think about the way the world is going. And I have a daughter who lives in Europe and is in her early 30s and is working with the fisheries over there. And I think, well, you know, we got to preserve these resources because I don't want to be the last generation, or even for her to be the last generation. So we're here to save the world for humans. I have no doubt the world will survive us.
Yes.
Right? I'm not so sure that we'll survive us. So that's a lot of what I'm about, is to make sure that we do a good job of taking care of one another and the source of it all.
That's incredible.